I want to welcome you all to another episode of What Do You Want? Now today I have my good friend Monica DeMarin, and I've been really looking forward to this for a long time. Monica and I live in different countries, and I've been wanting this for a few months. So it's great to have you, Monica.
It's so great to be here.
I want to give you guys a bit of an introduction to Monica. Some of you, I'm sure, know who she is. Monica and I met, I always say it feels like 20 years ago. So I actually don't exactly know when we met.
And I always correct you. It was 8 years ago, this past September.
8 years ago. Monica's become such a close friend of mine, and we've worked together now for 8 years. But Mon, I would love for you to tell everyone your story first of all, and then I want to dig deeper into different parts of your story so we can help other people through your story.
Sure, absolutely. So, Arash, when I think about how far I've come, the first thing that comes to me, my whole life, I grew up in an Italian family household, and my mom was my hero. I wanted to be a wife and a mom, and I could not wait for that. That was my big goal. I wanted to feel that love. And so for so many years, that was my main focus, and that happened. And I had 2 sons. I was pregnant with my last son, and I got to a point where I started to feel like I wanted more. And you know, I was searching for what does that look like. I was studying this, but I wasn't taking the action part. I was definitely in action. Everything on the outside looked great, but on the inside, I felt my soul saying, okay, get going. There's more for you to do. I did not know how to connect to that. And I was pregnant with my last son, and I went in for an appointment, and it was about 6 weeks before he was due. And next thing I knew, I was having an emergency C-section. And it was pretty frantic in the room. I knew it was could potentially not end up well. And I could hear the doctors saying, well, we have to save either the mom or the child. And at that moment, it was the most frightening moment of my life, but it was the most liberating, because in that moment, I really woke up. I made this decision in that. Looking back now, I can tell what I did. I made this decision saying, if I come out here and my baby's safe, both of us, I'm going to become who I'm meant to become. And that moment was my moment where I turned things around. And from there, I found you. I found this material. And the moment I heard your voice, I knew you were my mentor. I was believing in something that I didn't know what it was at that moment, but what you were saying was the absolute truth. So I knew I needed to connect to you somehow. And that became part of me rebuilding. I started this rebuilding phase. And I love your quote. You say it often. It's from, actually can't remember who it's from at the top of my mind now, but you say, it's hard at the beginning, messy in the middle, and amazing in the end. I think it's Robin Sharma. Yeah. Okay. And it's true. You know, starting that rebuilding phase was really, really hard because I didn't have direction until I actually found you. So I flew out to Arizona, and, you know, my husband was coming to meet you, and I wrote a letter on the plane. And I put my whole heart in this letter, my vision, my commitment to you and myself, more importantly, my desire, who as a woman, who I wanted to become. And I didn't know how it was going to go, but I knew that was my opportunity. And I couldn't let fear hold me back anymore, because for so many years, since I was 16, I had a really traumatic emotional impact. I was sexually abused at 16. So that instantly, as you can imagine, changed my identity in that moment. So from 16 to 36, when I was so for 20 years, I was shrinking and hiding. I couldn't really unleash who I actually wanted to become. I didn't even know who I was, to be honest. And I hand-delivered this letter to you, and I didn't know how it was going to go, but I think you felt my desire, you felt that energy transfer, and you brought me on your team, and it's been so much fun.
You know what's so interesting? I remember the letter like it was yesterday. But before that letter, I was really stuck. And I remember I called Bob Proctor, and I said, I've got to have an honest conversation with you. I'm bored. I'm stuck. I'm not inspired. And he goes, I've been there. He goes, I understand that. And he goes, your results don't show, but he goes, hell, that's the paradigm. And I remember this conversation so vividly. And he said, you don't have a goal? I said, I do. And I gave him my income goal. He says, no, you have the house, you have the family, you have the money, you don't have a goal. He said, I want you to write out a vision. So I wrote out a vision that was like significant vision, way bigger than me at the time. And I remember sending it to him. He goes, this is the best vision I've ever seen. And he goes, can I send it to the company? And I said, sure, if you want. And then I met you days later, literally days later. And you gave me your vision and I showed you mine. And I said, that's how powerful vision is. We didn't know each other. We knew of each other, but we didn't know each other. So I remember it so vividly. That's why, I was telling a friend of mine, Jeff, today. I said, you want to have your want control your vibration. Because that's the idea you fall in love with. That's what you did. Yeah. And then you attracted me. And then I had a vision that you fell in harmony with. So both of our visions fell in harmony with each other. Now, if you would have told me in 2015 that we would have created what we've created together, we've become great friends, our families are close, I would have never believed it. Not because it wasn't possible to have that type of interconnectedness, but that's what happens when you get out of your comfort zone, because I remember you were afraid to tell me.
Yeah.
And I have so much admiration, but I want to go back into your story a bit. You said something that I caught. You said, if me and my son make it out of here, and your son's a firecracker, so thank God he's in the world. Yes. But if we make it out of here, then I'm going to go, and I'm using my words, fulfill my potential. But you had an emotional impact. I mean, you could have lost your son. You could have died. And the emotional impact normally does not happen in a positive way. 9 out of 10 times, it's a jolt to our system negatively. Now, if you go back there, how did you stay committed to that emotional impact to follow through? Because it's easy to say it in the moment. Like Mikey always says, never commit when you're feeling good, and I love that saying. But how did, taking yourself back, somebody might be watching this and saying, I don't believe in myself right now. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, but I know there's more. How did you do it for yourself?
Yeah. Well, there's 3 words that I have fallen in love with, and it's taken me through my journey. I have many words, but courage, inspire, and passion. Inspiration, this is part of going back to my mom. She inspired me throughout my whole life, and I wanted to be an inspiration to others. So I knew I had to stay committed to what I gave myself that word that day. And I think being around you, Arash, you helped me build belief. I could not build belief by myself alone. You were able to pull that out of me, which I couldn't do on my own. So getting in your environment, getting with your mentorship and asking you questions, I look back now, I developed a curiosity mindset, which means I was so curious about how you created your processes. How did you make everything look easy and effortless? What did you do when things were hard? I was curious about that, and that sparked inspiration. I was inspired to learn, which led me to passion. So I was always looking forward. I was always looking on the horizon. What he has created, or other women or men, whoever has created, I can also create. So I started to change my belief by writing out who I wanted to become. Who is she? I wrote down a $1 million woman way back then, had no idea. At that time, I was earning $24,000 a year. But my script, my identity, who I wrote down, she was a $1 million earner. She was confident, she was comfortable in her own skin, and she was making a tremendous amount of impact. And each day, I took one step forward into that. So part of this was really having that burning desire that we talk about, like just being so fueled by that. I mean, it was not easy. You know, there was many tears. I was controlled by the results a lot of the time, but above all else, I got to a point where I wanted it more than I feared it.
You know, you said something that a lot of people stay stuck in. I always say, if you ask somebody why they're stuck, or why most people are stuck, because they want more, but they see themselves where they are. They're enslaved by where they are. Yeah. But at the time, let's paint a picture. You were a hairdresser. You were earning, I think, $25,000 a year.
24.
And you still sought out the mentorship. So your purpose was so much greater than your results that you still continued on. Yeah. See, that's what I did too. Like, if my story was, I didn't have any money, but I had a big desire. So I can connect with you with the desire, but I think the key is you were congruent with your desire. A lot of people are congruent with their program of their past. What made you say yes to you? Before you even met me, you said yes to you way before you met me. What was it that made you say yes to you?
Yeah, I always felt like there was something bigger, honestly. And it wasn't until that emotional impact that really woke me up. I thought, we don't have all this time. Like, time is our most precious resource. What am I doing here? Every day's a gift, right? So I looked at it. Each day, I am not living into that potential. I'm actually losing out on one step forward, you know? So in my mind back then, I'm like, I have to take these risks. I was not brought up as a risk taker. I was playing it safe, you know, save your money, don't spend it. So I was doing very illogical things that was going against my beliefs, but I was determined to break our cultural expectations where I grew up too. And I wanted to be that inspiration, like that why, Arash, that why, being an inspiration to not just my immediate family and create financial independence for myself, because that was another culture barrier. The men went to work. I wanted to do that for me. So I was taking risks. I came out to see you, which was an opportunity that I didn't want to miss. So when you think about it, how many people are letting opportunities slip because of fear? You never know when that shifting day is going to occur. Like, if I didn't come and hand deliver that, I might still be where I'm at, searching for someone to help me.
There's a good chance you would have been, unless you continued, then it might have happened, but you knew that you had to take that chance. You had to take that risk. And if you didn't, you would have risked more, because look what you've created. Now you've created 7 figures. You're doing what you love. You're getting better and better every day. But a lot of people are going to see you and say, well, she's a success, but they don't know what it took to create the success. So you brought up, I had to build toughness. And there are many days that you said you cried, right? I remember very vividly when I met you, I said, she's got the desire, I've got to build the toughness. I've got to build the foundation for her. And I remember the first event you came to, you kept coming to me and I kept telling you to go do it yourself. Yeah. And I remember my wife said to me, you're being so mean to Monica. You got to help her. And I said, you need to stay out of this. I know what I'm doing. And you ended up having an amazing event. And that's when you started getting confidence. So talk about the toughness you created. If you can go from where you were, you had the desire, you didn't have the foundation built, you didn't have the mindset built, you didn't have the habits built yet, but you had a dream. You had a dream that was bigger than you. What were some of the foundational pieces of your mental toughness that you built? Yeah.
Well, definitely it was working on my self-image. Through that was becoming fearless. That was one of my words, was anytime I felt fear, I was going to run through it. I wasn't going to run away from it or shrink to it. We talked about many times, you know, you never spoke to me as a hairdresser. You always spoke to me and coached me at who I wanted to become. So with that, we just recently spoke about this, you were raising my standard without me even knowing. You were getting me to do things that were uncomfortable. So when I look back at that event, you know, if I knew that your wife Veronica said that, I would have felt really comfortable. I was like, oh, that's great. But that's exactly what would have kept me stuck. That would have felt comfortable. So I'd be like, oh, that feels great. But no, that's exactly what was keeping me stuck. So having you coach me to where I want to be is the most greatest gift. Not only that, you taught me how to love myself deeply. And you were doing it so I could do it on my own, through one behavior at a time, through one habit on a time. You wouldn't pack on all of these things at once. You simplified everything so I could stay committed. I could stay consistent. I could see these little changes. And in the moment, for a long time, I didn't see changes, but what I felt was consistency. I'm like, I'm actually doing things. I'm following through with my word that I'm giving myself. So I'm gaining confidence through this little doing. So one of the best things you always taught and you teach our clients is you never know when you're in a quantum leap. You can always tell when you're out of one. So during that, you don't question. You just, if you do your daily disciplines, if you do your commitment to your habits, you will create that quantum leap. And that's what I did. And I was going into this unknown. So developing this courage was part of this identity and this habit. You're going to have to go into the unknown over and over again. You told me that. And I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable with that. We're like, well, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because that's where the magic happens, Monica. That's what I kept doing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, courage is the doorway to change. And you'll always see how someone's changing. And that's how I knew you were changing, by their language was changing. If I spent 24 hours a day with you, just for a day, I'd know where your language was taking you by default. See, a lot of people are not changing their identity because they're not changing their language. If you listen to them, they're speaking based on where they are.
Yes.
We've got to speak into our future self, and that's what you were doing. And when you said, I was failing, you were failing quite a bit.
Yeah.
But you know how I knew you were going to win? You never stopped studying. Like, you never lost your desire, even though there were reasons for you to get down on yourself. So you were constantly upgrading your processes. And there's a term that I talk about that's essential for success, and it's delayed gratification.
Yeah.
If you keep measuring your processes over and over again, and that's what I saw you do. But for me, like, if I look back at me and I look back at you, we have something similar that was essential to change, and I think that's probably similar for anybody, was identity. So if you were to give somebody advice 2 to 3 things that they could do that would be very easy, that shifted your identity, if you look back, that would shift theirs, what would that be?
Attitude. Number one, respecting yourself so much and your goal because it aids in your growth. Like, respecting your attitude towards yourself is probably the most important thing that someone can do, is change your attitude towards themselves. You definitely helped me change my attitude towards me. That's the starting point, is how do I want to see myself? What type of attitude is that? And then I wrote affirmations, not based on, just I'm so happy and confident, based on solutions. Like, why? And attach your why behind it. Attach your because around it. I'm funny with the word affirmations because a lot of people think that they can just say affirmations and then they're going to get it, right? So you have to do the follow through. Just because you write something down doesn't mean you're going to get it, right? It's the follow through. So I would recommend someone, number one, change your attitude towards themselves. Okay, have a great opinion of yourself no matter what. Change your perspective around everything. Have everything work in your favor. You take all your mind power and you only focus on how you can make something happen. That's a certain attitude. And then the other part is those affirmations, those power statements. Not just write a couple words, make it really powerful. You taught me to use powerful emotional words. The subconscious mind loves the language of emotions. Like, I'm very passionate when it comes to this because it's changed my life. Those would probably be the 2 things. I don't want to give it a whole list, but those are very powerful tools that someone can take with them for lifelong.
There's a great quote in The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. He said, we're either speaking castles into existence or we're speaking into our grave. And I love that because I think what you used to tell me, I don't know, my vocabulary is not like yours. You used to always tell me that. I go, forget about that. I said, as you keep studying, your vocabulary is going to get better because words are very important to me. But your language changes your attitude. We want to speak our language as our future self. You know, I was telling you before we started, for me, my future self is my hero. It's not like when I grew up, it was always a sports person or but now it's very different because I'm always chasing that future self, and that's what I saw you doing. Whether you knew it or not, you were chasing that future self because you kept thinking, feeling, and acting. And I remember you told me, I want to be your number one. Yeah. Well, you became my number one, but look at the language. You walked into that new image. If I could tell anybody how to change their identity, like simple, change your language of how you would speak already at your goal, and I would tell them to take action. There's not enough action you could take, you know, and that's what I watched you do. Now you're a powerhouse, and you're getting better and better. Where do you want to go from here?
Oh, leadership. I want to be able to help many, many people create what I've created. I want to do what you did for me, for many people. That's all my focus is on. It's so gratifying for me to already see the impact, but there's nowhere, I'm nowhere close where I want to be.
Well, leadership's interesting because leadership is a language that we were just talking about, but the best leader cares the most. They're great communicators, and they don't care what other people think of them. And that's the gap between somebody who has a title and somebody who's actually leading. And when you don't worry about what they think, you raise their standard. When you're worrying about what they think, your job is to develop them. And you're growing into a great leader right now. Like every day you're getting better and better and better and better. And you know, leadership now is your want. So if you feel that in your consciousness, if you feel, just like when I told you, I remember years ago, I said, you can, you know, my mentor taught me this. I taught it to you. You have to fill in your consciousness that you could turn your annual income into your monthly income. You've got to burn that idea in your mind, and that's what you've done. You've turned it into your weekly income if we go back to from where you were to where you are now. You know, it's very inspiring for me. I always coach people from where they want to be. You said I coached you from that because I didn't know I don't know any other way. Like you didn't come to me to be a hairdresser. I wouldn't have done a very good job at that. But you came to me to learn and master your craft, and you practice it. Give them your daily routine.
Oh, I love my routine. So I wake up at 5 a.m. I remember a time when you told me, earn your coffee, Monica, before you do anything. Before you get your coffee, I want you to do your morning routine. And I resisted this. I was not happy with you because I love my coffee. And you always taught me whatever you resist, you actually have to do because that's where you're going to grow. That's breakthrough. You're developing some more grit and strength. So I said, fine. So now it's changed because that was several years ago. So I wake up at 5 a.m., I grab my coffee, and right away I go into my auto-suggestion and I go in front of the mirror. I'm doing auto-suggestion 2 different ways. I'm writing it down and in front of the mirror. From there, within 15 minutes from there, I go right on and I do a heart movement. So I'll probably jog for 20 minutes and then I do mobility. So 45 minutes. From there, working out and moving my body changes my energy. But my commitment is flooding my mind right away when I wake up with my auto-suggestion. I want to have that first thing. It carries into my workout. From there, I'm studying a book. After that, I'm studying a book. I'm probably writing out my power statements, and then it changes with gratitude in through there. So from my study of my book, or if I'm watching one of the lessons that you've done, I write out how I want to carry that throughout the day into my team, into my coaching calls. So I'm learning and then I'm applying right away because that's how I can get it more ingrained. That's another lesson you taught me. As soon as you learn something, Monica, go and teach it to someone else. So I keep my morning routine really simple, but very, very powerful. I'm very deliberate and I'm intentional through it with my thinking. and who I want to be throughout the whole day.
What is your attitude with your processes?
Oh, it's great. Like my attitude is I'm dominating with whatever I do. Like you say, it's everything you touch turns to gold. My word is dominate. I'm a beast. I'm going to dominate it. So I have these power words. I have this certain attitude. Like this is my commitment to me and my future self. So I don't want to let myself down. I did that for too many years. So that's a certain attitude that I'm not wasting that time. Like I'm spending that time anyways. I might as well be great.
Yeah.
There's so many nuggets that I'm pulling out from my journey with you because they've all made such a big impact.
The thing about it is, I don't even think you're close to where you're going. Like as far as you've gone, like if I would have told you 8 years ago you'd be here, would you have believed it?
No, I just told my husband that. Literally when we landed here, I said, if you would have told me that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have been like, you're crazy, you know? So, you know, it's true. And I want to ask you something about when I was going after an income goal, it was like, you know, a million. I made the number so big. And I love how you tell people it's just a number.
Yeah.
It relaxes. What does it actually do when...
I mean, you want to be in a relaxed state, number one, but the number is just a number.
Yeah.
The million is about service. It's about building your habits, about building your behaviors, who you're growing into. Our wants, I remember when it was so big to you and I said, it's just a number. And you could feel the tension release. Yeah. So like with every one of my goals, I just think it's a goal. Like I prioritize goals, but the goal's never bigger than me. Right. So when we look at your next goal, it's just a goal. Yeah. Now you put the right processes in, and then you're going to win by default. What happens for people, they say, I want $1 million, or I want X, whatever their want is. And they never master it long enough. And then they say, well, I didn't get it. Well, you didn't do the 10,000 hours. You didn't do 50,000 hours if that was necessary. It's never 50,000. And it doesn't have to be 10. It depends on how quickly you accept an idea. So for me, if you really look at what we did together and what we continue to do together, all I ever do is change your perception. Yeah. That's all I do. See, our perception, we look at the world completely different. So if you reframe is one of my favorite words with attitude. Because whatever we're perceiving, we're either empowering our central nervous system or we're infecting it. And so let's say I had a bad experience. I want to reframe it as a good experience because my body only knows how I reframe it by what I accept. So all we did is reframed $1 million differently. It went in to turn into an empowering, oh, it's not a big deal, and we got to work. You know, you do the work works. So that's what everybody wants to do. We've got to really work on our perception, and we've got to master reframing. Reframing bulletproofs ourselves and bulletproofs our foundation to what we're going to get, and we're going to get it a lot quicker. You know, that's what it was for me. That's still what it is.
I made leadership, that word, even bigger. I did the same thing, and then that's where you pointed that out. So I had to reframe and pivot my perception to a completely different image of that. So, you know, yeah.
You know, I remember I had a conversation with Bob Proctor, and he said to me, he congratulated me on something I achieved, and he made it so damn simple. And he said, you had to watch your language with him because he was the most aware person I'd ever met. And I was like, oh shit, he caught me. You know, because he would always jump on me with it. And he said, well, why don't you accept it? And I said, I guess I don't know. And he said, this isn't rocket science. He says, all you have to do is accept an idea, get emotionally involved. You're going to alter your vibration. You're going to dictate what you attract. From that moment on, I just accepted everything I wanted. And that's what we're talking about with reframing. You can change your past. Somebody could have trauma in their past, and they can go back and look at what they learned from that trauma, and they reframe that whole circumstance inside of themselves. And now they're looking at their past of something they learned. So we can learn from the experiences, and even in trauma, and you'll know when you don't have trauma anymore because you're never thinking from that trauma. So we work through that together. But, but everyone's had trauma.
Everybody.
I don't know anyone
has had it.
I don't know anyone who hasn't had something of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's story is just a little bit different, and no matter what your story is, you can recreate it. And that's the beautiful thing about, knowing what, I think a lot of people know what they want, but they don't believe it. And they're unclear of who they actually are. That was actually one of the things I knew, many years ago, I wanted to be a mom and a wife. And when I started to do this, I knew I wanted more. I didn't know what it looked like. I just knew that there was something bigger inside of me. So, and I knew I was like inspirationally dissatisfied. I was like so dissatisfied with keep getting the same. I'm like, how do I actually go through this? Which is why I was opened up to you. And I just thought, this is my answer right here, right now. And part of understanding being detached from the past, like who you're becoming is what you taught me is way more important than who you have been. But I feel so free now, like really free that, that's the most freeing part in this journey. It's not about the things, it's actually who you become. So there's also allowing this greater power within you help guide you through this life. So that is someone that I have as a best friend that is within me, which is awareness, and you taught me that.
So if you were to give somebody watching this one piece of advice that you learned from 8 years ago till now, I mean, you see what can happen in a few years. I mean, we say 8 years, but you changed. Within 12 months, you were a completely different person. So it doesn't have to take long, but it takes commitment, and your all-in has to be from your future self. What advice would you give them?
Take the risk. Be courageous and be bold, because you get one shot here. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, that's all you have. You can't screw around. This is all we know. Well, this is great. I want to thank you. I love all of our conversations. You might not like them as much as me when I stretch you, but for me, I love them because I know you're getting better every time. But your story is fabulous. I mean, you should be damn proud of yourself. Like, I'm very proud of you, of who you've become. You're one of the strongest people I know, and you're helping people all over the world. And I want to congratulate you and keep getting better.
Thank you so much, Arash.
Thank you. Hey, it's Arash, and I've got something for those of you who've been asking, Arash, how can you coach me? How can I work with you? How can I get closer to what you're doing? Whether you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, or just someone hungry, I want to help you. And here's how. There's a link below this video. I want you to click it right now. All I'm asking for is your name, your phone number, and one question. What do you really want? How do you really want to live? That's it. Fill it out, and you're giving me permission to personally reach out to you. When you do, I'm going to connect with you and create a game plan. Now listen, if you've been watching my content and you're ready for a breakthrough, or you're already winning big and you're just obsessed with getting better, going even further, I'm the coach. We're in a new era. And when you click that link, you're saying, Arash, I'm giving you permission to stretch me, to push me, to bring me upwards. And I promise you, if you're ready, this will change your life. So stop waiting, click the link, fill out the form, do it right now, and I'll be in touch.